Instead of catching it over his shoulder, what did he do? He turned around and faced the ball, made it more difficult because normally you see this 90% of the time, when he hit, that ball pops out. He had that death catch on it. I'm more surprised that Patrick Mahomes did this to the Baltimore Ravens in their building. Why are we surprised about Lamar? What have we seen in big games? Go ahead.
Hold on, my brother. The question isn't the biggest surprise. The question is the biggest headline. I give you the surprise. I'll give you the surprise. All considering what we've seen from the Kansas City wide receivers throughout the season, for 44 drops or whatever, of course. I give you the surprise. But the bigger headline on this afternoon, because we got to remember, even while the Kansas City Chiefs were struggling, we already knew about the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. We just didn't know if they would validate him by making sure they caught the damn ball that he delivered to them. So what does he do? He targets Travis Kelce 11 times, all 11 receptions, 116 yards, 6 of them for first downs, by the way. A couple of spectacular catches by Travis Kelce. You went to Old Reliable, and damn it worked. Major props to them. Nobody's taking anything away from the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. Go ahead.
Even Travis Kelce had a case of the drops this year. He was not as locked in as he normally is.
But that's not what I'm saying.
As great as Patrick Mahomes was as great as he's been, and we know he's historically great, even he couldn't make up for what was transpiring. Remember they got the doors blown off them by the Raiders? Remember some of the games that they were losing?
Broncos beat them?
Yes, the Broncos beat them. And D.O. and I we were saying, I think they're one and done. As great as Patrick Mahomes is, because he wasn't playing up to that level.
But what I'm saying is you're making my argument, Shannon, because what I'm saying to you is throughout the struggles of the Kansas City Chiefs this year, at no time did we sit up here and say this slippage on the part of Patrick Mahomes. No, we were questioning what the hell was going on with his receivers. We were questioning whether or not Travis Kelce was going to even retire after this year, okay? We had all of these questions. At no time did any of us look at Patrick Mahomes and go like this. We don't know what's happened to him. He doesn't seem to be himself. You take Lamar Jackson into consideration. I gave the stat to you last week. I'll give it to you again, Shannon. 9 quarterbacks in NFL history have 2 or more NFL MVPs in Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Kurt Warner, Patrick Mahomes. If Lamar Jackson wins it, okay, he'll be number 10. He will be the only one without a Super Bowl appearance, let alone a Super Bowl championship. That is a fact. And so knowing that coming into this, all I'm trying to say is if they lose, if Baltimore loses, fellas, yesterday, the way Josh Allen lost to Kansas City a couple of years back, we're not having this conversation. We're having this conversation. The manner in which Baltimore lost, where your defense showed up for the last 3 quarters and played lights out and kept time after time after time again neutralizing KC's offense in a way that gave your offense an opportunity. Zay Flowers mess up. And Lamar Jackson throws it into triple coverage. Awful throw. Awful throw. Forced it, what have you. We saw them throwing the helmets down. We saw them rattled. We saw them immature. We saw them out of sync. So much so we even looked at John Harbaugh, by the way, who's about 1-3, if I remember correctly, as a head coach in AFC Championship games now. We even looked at him and said, excuse me, you're the coach. You're a great coach. Why are these players looking so rattled? Why are they looking out of sync? What's going on with them? You know these penalties. You can't afford this roughing the passer, taunting penalties. You know better than this. But we looked at all of that, and we come back to Lamar coming up short in terms of his individual play.
Right.
That is a fact.
But Stephen A., the individual play by Lamar isn't detached from the plan. The game plan was bad. The game plan was bad by Monken. They ran the ball. They should have
ran it much more.
Much more.
They should have ran the ball much more.
The bigger headline. Let's talk about this. This team opened up the season losing at home to Detroit. They lost to Denver. They lost to the Raiders. They had to play, I think, all the way up until week 17 just to get into the playoffs. This team led the NFL in offensive line penalties or offensive penalties. Both their tackles struggled, and they led the NFL in drops. And yet they're going to the AFC champion or the Super Bowl. That's the bigger headline. The bigger headline is they went into Baltimore and played against the #1 seed and played against the MVP and played against a defense that was historically great. It was the best defense statistics-wise, I think, in the last 10 or 12 years in the NFL. That's the bigger headline. I can't remove Lamar's performance from the coaching decisions. Lamar played bad. There's no question about that. But Lamar was set up to play bad in many ways by the play calling. If I told you, Shannon, the #1 thing Baltimore offensively could not do in this game was get to third and obvious. The #1 thing. They could not get to third and obvious passing situations. They did that by throwing the ball way too much down first and second down.
Only comment that I'll add before Shannon chimes back in here is that I'm going to hold John Harbaugh more accountable than I would hold Monken, and here's the reason why. Because last year in their wild card playoff game in which they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe it was Dobbins that came out and adamantly complained. We weren't running the football. We weren't giving the ball, even though they ran the ball 35 times in that particular game. He was talking about how they had been around. They should have gave it to him instead of Huntley at the goal line, which was fumbled and returned by Cincinnati damn near 100 yards. Okay, he pointed that out. It should have been given to him. So you're looking at a situation where if you're John Harbaugh, even though you bring in a new offensive coordinator, you got running backs complaining about not only the amount of time you gave them the ball to run the football, but the particular situations where they are utilized or lack thereof. Yesterday, we found ourselves looking at the Baltimore Ravens, questioning the same thing. Why in God's name would you not run the football? Gus Edwards was averaging over 6 yards a carry in the 3 times that he rushed the damn football.
That's why I can't kill Lamar over it. Like
Heel.
Yeah, I can't hold Lamar's feet to
They didn't touch the ball, and I think some of that happened to do. I think Baltimore was shook, but with the ease in which Kansas City went down the field. So they felt they were about to get into a scoring matchup, a scoring shootout, and they felt they needed to get Lamar into a rhythm. But you get Lamar in a rhythm by running the football. And once they couldn't run the football, and no matter what anybody tells you, D.O., you know this, and I've talked to coordinators, they still fear Lamar Jackson's legs much more than they fear his arm. So we need to stop this where he can just drop back and no. He needs that running game because now we can play action off of it. And Lamar didn't use his legs nearly enough. Don't worry about how people perceive you or you're a running quarterback, you're an athletic quarterback. Be known as a winning quarterback because you saw what happened with Brock Purdy. You see Patrick Mahomes, gone. That's what Lamar Jackson, but he's patting the ball on that strip sack. How much time do you think you have the ball, D.O.? This ain't 7-on-7. You only get so many pats before somebody's chopping your arm. And in triple coverage, I don't care as likely throws his hand up. You can see what he cannot see, that he's triple covered, and you let him coax you into throwing an interception. And so for me, Stephen A., I agree. Lamar played bad. There's no way around it. Ain't no sugarcoating it. It ain't no hating from Stephen A. and Shannon this morning. There's none of that. He played bad. But at the end of the day, when you have less than 20 carries between your team and you led the league in rushing by a miracle mile, there's no excuse for that. And so while Lamar bears some culpability, the fact that Patrick Mahomes goes on the road, something in his young career, we have not seen him play a true road playoff game, not the Super Bowl. And he went to places, and they said he was underdog in both situations. And we know what Josh Allen represents, and we know what Lamar Jackson and that defense represent. And he's the one that's going to Las Vegas, and everybody's left of, well, what did we do wrong? What could we do different?
And he used that motivation. He loved a little chip because he's never the underdog.
Everyone picked
and people
against him.
Questioning him. Yeah, I'll give you the final word here, and then we'll roll.
2 things that stand out. The difference between Lamar and Brock Purdy yesterday. Brock Purdy trusted his instincts and reactions. Lamar didn't, to your point, Shannon, with running the football. You guys know the NBA far greater than me. What we've seen is this evolution from Patrick. I believe you guys would say that Michael and LeBron got to points where they just controlled the game. Whatever was necessary to win that game, they did. That's where Patrick Mahomes is right now. He can control the game, and whatever is necessary to do to win that one, he's capable of doing.
Yeah, and like
in the second half, Molly, one more thing. In the second half, he turned into a game